Hey, I'm Sal at Decco Ranch. Harley Guy Mike and I finished up the testing on the bikes. He got to choose which bike he wanted to ride for our Delta ride. He chose the Kawasaki Vulcan S 650. I'm on the Honda Rebel 500 behind him. We are headed for the Delta. The Delta is so beautiful with all of its bridges, and there's one of them, even though that's just a little one. But we're not really counting that one when I talk about the bridges. But it is so beautiful any time of year. It's got all the curves. So we took the back roads, ended up in Thornton. Thornton is going to take us straight into the Delta. And this is a very popular road traveled by bikers. Very popular. In fact, we're going to pass under I-5 here, and a lot of bikers will come off of I-5 just to hit this road into the Delta. We pass all sorts of things, such as tractors and any type of farm equipment. We ended up a ways down getting stopped by a truck, and as we're sitting there wondering why it stopped on the road, it turns out there is a stoplight to get over the Delta Bridge. This will be bridge number 1. This takes us over either the Sacramento River or one of the many sloughs that are in the Delta. It's kind of hard to tell them apart, but they're beautiful bridges. As soon as we get across, we take a right turn into a very popular restaurant, very nice restaurant called Justy's. They're in the Delta. If you've ridden the Delta up in the Sacramento area, east of Sacramento, you probably know this restaurant. There were already a couple of bikers there that were leaving when we arrived. So we got settled in. We had an awesome sit-down lunch. If you want a great meal in the Delta, this is the place to go. Justy's is a landmark. The river or slough is directly across the street. It's hard to tell whether it's the river or the slough just because there are so many little tributaries. Lunch is over, we're back on the road. We are going to go exploring, and we're going to take you with us. So many boats, very popular area for boats, and the houses are very unique. They're built up behind the Delta, behind that levee. In case of flooding, apparently everybody goes up to the second floor. So it's just so pretty. I wanted you to see this with us because of the beauty and all these nice curves in the Delta. This is the little town of Locke. There aren't very many towns on the Delta. This is one of them. You can get pretty much anything you need here. I love riding through these little river towns. Once we pass through the town of Locke, we are going to come up to bridge number 2, and we're going to cross that bridge here real soon. There you can see it up on the left. We didn't go on this ride looking for the bridges. They're just everywhere. You want to cross a river or a slough, you've got to take a bridge or a ferry. There are different islands in the Delta where you can take a ferry to get onto them and ride across. And either you take another ferry to get off of the island, or you can find a way out. And sometimes there's a way out and sometimes there isn't. So the stop sign that we just passed, that we just left, whether we went left or right, I would tell you all roads lead to Ileton. I have been on the Delta in both directions and have ended up in the little town of Ileton. And if you've ridden the Delta, tell me if that's not true. We're just riding on tour, just checking out the sights. It is so pretty. We're actually going to cross over 7 bridges today. That's not how many there are. There are way more than that in the Delta. This is just what we passed today. That brings us to bridge number 3. We didn't actually take this big yellow bridge just yet. We'll be back to it. Instead, we veered off towards Grand Island. There are a lot of islands in the Delta, or at least they call them that. You can get lost on these islands. Some of them require ferries to get to them, as I mentioned earlier. We're not taking any ferries today, but we did end up taking some very scenic routes. You see the slough. I think it's a slough. I don't think it's the actual river. But we ended up taking just such a pretty ride out towards Grand Island, passing some really cool places and a lot of farmland. And we got so far down there. Look at how pretty this is. Just like an oasis out of nowhere. We got so far down towards Grand Island, we finally decided this is not where we wanted to be. So we ultimately turned back and came back towards that yellow bridge that we passed a little bit earlier. And this time, we're going to take that turn and head across that bridge. This is back through bridge number 3. And we only take these bridges one time each. Everything we cross are all different bridges. It's so weird. There's just so many of them. Now, once across this bridge, we just take off in whatever direction we feel like going. We're not on any particular path. We're just exploring. And when we did take off, it wasn't long before we came to yet another bridge. This is bridge number 4. We don't actually go across this one because it's closed. And we'll just continue on our way, enjoying the scenery. And it wasn't long before we come across bridge number 5. This is our second green bridge that we're crossing, not the same as the other green bridge. Each one is very different and unique in its own way, which is what adds interest to all of this. Now, I don't like driving my car in the Delta at all. I have this thing about falling in the river and something happening. It hasn't, but it could. But it's so much fun to take the bikes along the Delta roads because you have all those different lane positions within one big car lane that you can play with. So it's a blast on the bikes, and I hope that you're enjoying this and seeing how much fun you can have on the Delta. Well, here's bridge number 6 that we're coming to. This is a kind of a green bridge, but each one is so very, very different. And notice how straight you have to keep those bikes because of those ridges in the metal. And the stoplights that you have here, the little stop signs with the little levers that drop, kind of like a railroad, they use those because these bridges move. They either go up in the air or turn sideways to let the really tall boats through. We stopped to fuel up before heading back, so I'm going to go ahead and give you some real-time audio. You still at 1/5?
Yeah.
Wow. Man, this one's a lot more fuel efficient. Look at this. You'd swear it was a half tank.
Yeah. Oh, here it might be more.
The GoPro is still running on my helmet. Hello. 15 on number 4, please. We've been long enough in the Delta. We're headed back home, and on our way home we crossed this bridge that I don't even want to count as one of the 7, just because it's not fancy enough. It's not that big one. But here really is number 7 next. This is the last bridge on our route home. We took a totally different way home than we came. That's why we're hitting all these different bridges. You wouldn't know it, but we've just finished up A several hour ride, put in 100 miles on the bikes. Thank you for joining us and hope you enjoyed the ride in the Delta. Thank you, and get us both in here for thanks for coming out.
Yeah, this was fun.
Test riding all the bikes and going for that nice long ride with me.
Yeah, that was a great ride.
Oh my gosh, we had fun. We had fun, and thanks for bringing the Harley out and riding the Vulcan, so you could get a nice feel for it.
My pleasure.
Okay, till next time, ride safe and keep your horses moving. Look at that Harley. Holy mackerel, isn't that beautiful?